What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Beyond the Course podcast. Today's guest is professional golfer Laura Hoskin, all the way from her hotel quarantine in New Zealand. How are you, Laura?
I'm good, thank you.
So what puts you in quarantine? Are you just coming back from the States, is it?
Yeah. So I was here in America for 2 months, and because of the whole COVID regulations and, outbreak, we've had to be in quarantine for 2 weeks. Everyone has to go through it upon arrival when coming back into New Zealand. So yeah, I'm just stuck in a hotel. I think I'm on day 6. I've lost count, but yeah.
God, that must be tough. But it's all good though, right? Because you've just come back. You've just been playing in the qualifying event for LPGA and Symetra Tour recently. I saw on your Instagram.
Yeah.
So I guess congratulations are in order.
Thank you. Yeah, I earned myself some Symetra Tour status for 2022. And it's the qualifying school is a 4-day event, and that's the first stage. And then they have a second stage, which is in October later in the year, and then the third stage further down the track. And if you get to the third stage, then you get LPGA Tour status. But there's all these different stages, and you get different status depending on how well you do in each stage.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe we can go a little bit further into it, because for a lot of the listeners, for example, the ones from the United Kingdom, they might not know the ins and outs of how these qualifying things work. So the original goal is to try and get LPGA status, but then there's also kind of a cut-off point whereby even if you don't make that, you still get onto the Symetra Tour, which is then the qualifying tour for the LPGA as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the one. And so the money list is really important in the Symetra Tour, because if you finish top, say 25 on that tour, then you get full status to get and play on the LPGA the following year.
Cool. Well, I mean, we'll go a little bit more into kind of your career and how you got here later on. So for this particular qualified tournament, what was the goal for you going in? Was it kind of focused on that Symetra Tour, or were you just trying to get as far as you can and try and reach LPGA? What was kind of goals and thoughts going in?
Yeah, my goal was for Symetra. Look, the quality of golf out there this season has been remarkable, and I knew that going in. I think there are 440 girls playing. I placed 126th, so I was really happy with that, and played some of my best golf as a professional in my career, and ended up with status for next year. And that's all I really wanted to do and come out of this event, was just to be able to go and play back in America in 2022. So we did that, and hopefully we can build on it and see where it goes from there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good time to start playing your best golf, especially under the pressure of that. I mean, I imagine you must be very used to playing on US soil. You went to college there. I think you played a lot of your junior and amateur career around the States. So did that kind of give you a bit of confidence going in?
Exactly. America is like my second home. I went to Ole Miss for 4 years and graduated in journalism. But no, I love playing in America, especially just even the competition over there. Like, maybe it's the same in Europe, but definitely in New Zealand, we don't have a lot of women competition down where we are. So it was so nice just to be back playing with, other girls, and like the quality of golf is amazing. And honestly, it just gave me more motivation to come back next year.
Yeah, well, I saw an interview you did, actually. I think it was in New Zealand, about the women's golf side of thing in New Zealand. Tell us a little bit about that, and how's the situation at the moment? Is it kind of getting better? I know you did that interview back in April, I think, talking about the kind of maybe lack of women's golf available in New Zealand in the tournaments, etc. So how's that whole situation going now?
Yeah, well, we've we're going back from when I was a junior. We had a junior girls, a five girl junior team, and 4 out of the 5 of us are now playing over in America. So we were really strong. At the moment, it's weakened off a little bit, but we've got some good juniors coming through. But it's tough. Like, we're such a small country, and we don't have enough women to make our own tour, so we have to then join up with the men and play in the men's tournaments. So we actually have events to play in, otherwise we're out of a job. So yeah, when we play in New Zealand, we're playing alongside the guys, and that's only because there's not enough women to make a tournament of our own. Yeah.
I mean, where does that problem come from then? Is it really just a lack of opportunity for younger girls to get into golf? Or, I mean, is it an acceptance thing with women? It's not that, is it? I imagine it's more just about getting young girls into golf from an early age, possibly.
Yeah, I was talking to girls, a couple of weeks ago when I was back in the States, and they said that they're having the same issue at clubs over there as well, that there's just not a lot of junior girls coming through. And yeah, I think just with the whole, electronics and technology, girls are just finding it, like, what's the point of playing golf or sport in general? I think better things to do, I guess. But New Zealand's also, we're a population of just under 5 million. So we've got a small pool of people, but I think they just need to know that there is an amazing opportunity out there, going to college, getting a free education. Like, if they just, saw what, golf can offer, I think would get a lot more girls into it.
Yeah, I mean, we seem to be getting a lot of good New Zealand golfers coming through at the moment, from the women's game especially. So maybe it's just something that takes a little bit of time, but it's definitely true. I spoke to somebody that is from Australia about this kind of similar issue, and she talked about this as well, about the lack of girls or women's that are at the tournaments in the local clubs and things like that. And I think maybe it's something that is getting better. It's maybe just hard to see the progress sometimes.
Yeah, I think, and it's like any sport, like, it goes through waves. And at my age group, our competition is really good. Like, we've got 5 really high performance golfers out there playing internationally, but you might look back and 6 years down the track and it's not that great. But again, it all just goes in waves, and I'm sure we'll have a surge of good golfers coming through shortly.
Yeah, I mean, I know New Zealand was obviously not as affected by coronavirus as, say, some countries in Europe and the States, but we saw a massive boom here in England, especially, of golfers, but also women golfers that were now taking it up because of the pandemic. The figures from England Golf, which is like the official association, was ridiculous. And again, for women and men golfers that are either signing up for memberships or just playing now or starting to play. It's obviously not a good way for it to start with a pandemic, but it was great to see that there were some positives out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I just guess it's just people exploring their own backyard. But I heard the same thing in America, actually, with people taking up golf over there, and country clubs having surges and tea time bookings. And I know a few country clubs even had to restrict guest access because members were just wanting to play. They were traveling. So yeah, it was even hard. It was hard just to get tea times.
Sure. Did you see it? Did you see any of that surge in New Zealand as well, do you think?
I don't know the stats, but yeah, I would imagine, because people are not traveling, that we will see a rise, especially with summer coming up. I know from my club, a lot of the older golfers all go to Australia, but that's not going to happen. So yeah, we'll definitely be seeing a surge in golf over our summer coming up. Yeah.
And in terms of maybe like the solution, then what do you think, everybody or people like myself and you can do to try and help the increase in girls and women playing golf, either in England or in New Zealand or all over the world?
Yeah, really good question. I think it's just letting girls know, like, that the opportunity is out there to play in college, and that there's a pathway. Like, you don't necessarily have to go pro, but you can play and get an education and get an experience and see what it's like playing golf, at a really high level. And it doesn't have to be, hardcore or like really intense. You can have fun doing it. I know growing up for me, like, I was always the only girl, and I did take it quite intensely. But if I was to say to myself back then, I would say, like, loosen up a little and, like, probably enjoy it just a little bit more, and just enjoy it with friends. Lots of opportunity, and just enjoying it with friends, I think would help the younger generation get into it for sure.
Yeah, I think I've seen it definitely improving. I mean, speaking for myself, but people that I follow and stuff on social media, they're definitely more involved and interested in the women's tournaments now that are being televised. For example, the Solheim Cup that just finished, I was way more into that than watching, say, the final PGA event in the FedEx Cup. And I know other people have been the same. Everybody's been talking about, you know, the Women's Open that was a couple of weeks ago, the major there. So people seem to be definitely paying a lot more attention to it now than, you know, maybe like on an equal basis to the men's, which is great to see.
Yeah, it's really cool. And I think the Quarter sisters have helped out the game a lot, like just getting to know them through social media and getting to know their personalities. Like we know all the men's golfers, and we know, you know, everyone's got a different personality, and it's always fun to see them play and see them come out not as a golfer but as a person. And I think as soon as we start profiling women golfers like that and get to know them as a golfer and a person, we'll want to take more interest for sure. Yeah,
sure. So getting a little bit into your kind of career then and how it started, I mean, because you've played a lot of golf all over the world. I believe you played on the Chinese LPGA, you competed on the Korean one, you played in New Zealand, and then obviously the States, as we mentioned. So give us a little backstory into how you got into golf and how you got into playing kind of the amateur events, junior. How did it all start for you?
Yeah, so like every other golfer, probably my dad got me into it as a young age. And yeah, he's been my biggest supporter. Like if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have played in America as a junior. I played the junior American Championship and played really well over there. And definitely like my parents pushing me to do well has got me to where I've got. And in regards to playing as a junior before I turned pro, I went to America and played on the at Ole Miss for 4 years, and then I turned pro straight after graduating.
Yeah, I read a little article about your dad. Apparently that there was one point when you were kind of ready to give up on golf, was it? And then he was trying to remind you of, you know, well, what it is to play golf. Yeah, I don't know whether it was the Ole Miss website, but somebody was saying about how you maybe just lost a passion for it, and he had to remind you a little bit of what it's like to be a golfer and your dream.
So at Ole Miss, I was definitely into like the partying, and I love party. I was a partier, and during Ole Miss, I did want to stay in America and get an internship and stay in the golfing scene, but get an internship within the golfing industry. And then Dad said, "Look, Laura, like I really think you should pursue golf. Like it's now or never." And I was like, "Oh, like how?" And he goes, "Look, if you come home, we'll back you, you know, for your first 2 years." And I was like, "Oh, okay, I may as well. Like, I mean, why not?" So I came home, and he did persuade me, and he's like, "Look, I think your game's good enough. We'll go to China, and see if you can qualify for the tour over there." And I played really well. I surprised myself. I placed 14th over in the Q school over there, and earned my full status for that tour. And played over in China. Then I got noticed and got invited to go and play on the Korean tour, and then Australia, and like Laura Davies was in the field when I was playing over in Australia. Oh, wow. Like it was pretty cool. Like it was a wicked year. And then, you know, and then COVID hit, so it was all just trying to get the ball rolling again. But yeah,
I mean, we'll get onto those tours and everything in a little while, but in terms of the college stuff then, what was that kind of experience like for you? Obviously, again, you've got a lot of experience in the States, but coming from New Zealand, a completely different country, how was that experience of going to play and live in America?
Yeah, it opened my eyes to what life is like without golf. So I guess I was always quite sheltered growing up, like from like having friends and having a social life. And since I got to college, I was able to explore what that life was like, and I loved it. Like if you see like a college movie, it's exactly like a college movie. Like the red solo, beer pong, like all that stuff. And I immersed myself into it. It was super fun, and I'm glad that I did, because if I didn't do that, then I would probably be here now and craving to go and party, and I probably wouldn't want to pursue golf because I would be burnt out. But so now college was cool, and I'm glad that I approached it the way that I did, and left some energy in the tank to play professionally.
Yeah. So then after college, you said, so the first kind of tour you started to play on then, was that the Chinese one directly after college, more or less? Yeah,
that was about 6 months after college. I went over there and qualified. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, tell us a little bit about that. Obviously, I mean, again, that's completely different, very different from the States where you were used to, and I imagine very different to New Zealand. So give us some kind of comparisons between playing there and playing in America. What did you have to kind of get yourself used to, apart from, of course, like the language and everything else?
Yeah, well, they actually run the Chinese LPGA tour very well, and there are two other Australians and another Kiwi, me playing over there, and I was honestly surprised like why there weren't any more like Americans playing, because it's such a competitive tour, making the same if not more money than Symetra. And I guess the only difference is it doesn't lead to the LPGA, like there's no pathway, so that's the only down. But everyone would speak English, and if you didn't speak English, then you just use Google Translate, which we did all the time. It was the app on the front page of my phone. But no, I love the tour. The one thing I did find tough was probably not having like English caddies, so I need to have a caddy every tournament. And I remember I was playing this one round, and I laid up into the water on a par 5, and my caddy, who was real cool, she gets out her phone. She didn't speak a word of English. Gets out her phone, pulls out the Google Translate app, and says, "Pull yourself together" on the app. I'm like, oh.
That's cute.
She's like, yeah, just like concentrate. Okay. Yeah,
that's funny.
So it was funny, yeah.
But I imagine with golf, it's a lot of it is just numbers, right? So she can just go 7 or 8 iron, whatever it is, and pick the club out for you.
Yeah, but it takes a while for a caddy to get to know what your numbers are. The caddies over there, you'd probably just get them to say, hey, what side of the fairway am I good to like drive on? But otherwise they're just there to pull your bag, because we get really useful yardage books over there every tournament. So we get it's pretty easy once you get the hang of it, week in, week out, going there, getting a yardage book, and working it all out. Yeah.
I imagine it depends on what type of player you are as well, though. I mean, for example, now in the men's game, if you look at somebody like Bryson DeChambeau, that's constantly in communication back and forth with his caddy, and Jordan Spieth, whereas some players, I don't know what you're like, but maybe they're just like, give me the number or give me the club that you think and let's go. Whereas if you needed to be constantly communicating with them with in-depth information, that would be a lot more difficult, right?
Yeah. See, I'm one of the, so it's different. Like if I had a caddy who could travel with me week in, week out, I would 100% be one of those players where my caddy gets the number and they'd be like, okay, I think it's a 7, and I'd need to know like a bit of the numbers. But if he just thinks, okay, 7, full 7, hit it to the spot, I'll be like, okay, cool, I'll do that, and it's a simple game. Because caddies, you can't, it's unlikely that you're going to get a caddy to travel with you week in, week out and get to know your numbers so good like that. You need to know them yourself. So yeah, I know my numbers well enough to make decisions on my own, but if I could, I mean, I would totally have a caddy making decisions for me.
Yeah.
Saves the mental game.
I mean, language aside, then, what was the experience like, again, comparing it to somewhere like America in terms of just playing on the courses there and practicing out there at the driving range? Is there many differences between the two countries, and maybe Korea as well? I imagine it's slightly different.
It's really different, if I'm to be honest. Like, I remember rocking up to the Korean tour event. No one spoke a word of English. I didn't even know how to register for the event. I didn't know how to get a practice round. I was thrown into the deep end. I ended up meeting a girl who spoke English, and she was like, yeah, you go here to register, and like, this is how you get a practice round, and blah, blah, blah. So she ended up being my only friend that week, and we had breakfasts and everything together. But definitely, like, the quality of how an event is run impacts on, for me personally, on how easy it is to go and play. For example, America, they run their events very well, so it's easy to go and play good golf because it's, you've got nothing to worry about. But if you're there and you're worrying about little things off the course, it's hard to concentrate, and you're not sure if you're doing things right or within the rules and things like that. But no, China was great, really well run. Australia, really well run. America, the WAPT tour over there, awesome events, and I can't wait to get back and play there next year for sure.
Yeah. And what are your sort of plans now then? Obviously, you're doing the quarantine here in New Zealand and you've got the Symetra Tour coming up, but what do the next kind of 3-6 months look like for you in terms of golf?
Yeah, so we've got the New Zealand summer coming up, and we're really fortunate to have events here in New Zealand run through the PGA, and got a little tour called the Charles Tour. So we've got events that'll happen over summer. We're currently in level 3 and level 4 lockdowns here in New Zealand, just because we've had a small COVID outbreak. So we have to wait until level 1 for us to be able to compete again. So I was just talking to the PGA today actually, and they're going to move all the tournaments to be played in October, November, which is good because then they'll be week in, week out, and more on a tour schedule, which is good from my point of view.
You get yourself into a bit of routine, don't you? Whereas if you're playing scattered events, it's very difficult to get yourself in a rhythm, I imagine.
So tough, and especially even if you want a little part-time job, no one's going to want you if you're taking a week off here, a week off there. So if you can at least say, hey, like, I'm away for a month or 2 months, then you just go and focus on the golf, and then you can go home and work for 3 months straight. So it works that well.
How does it work then for you at the moment with, say, for example, a coach? I think I read somewhere as your coach from or lives in Canada the last time I saw.
Yes. So the I was talking about before, where I was in Korea and the Korean event, and I had no one to talk to. That's how I met my coach. So he was there with the English speaking player, and I love their player coach relationship. And I was like, I really would love a relationship like that with a coach, and I never had one. And Brian, my coach, lives in Canada, and he's been amazing. Like talks to me every day when I was playing over at Q School, and he's coaches a lot of high profile players. So no, I really like him. Distance is tough, but I guess that's just the time we're in at the moment.
Yeah, so it's just a lot of kind of online lessons at the moment, is it, or virtual lessons?
Yeah, virtual. I'll send him a video. He'll send me like a video back with voiceover and maybe some lines drawn in on the video so I can visually see what I'm doing, what he's talking about. Yeah, but like after, it's so easy. You just take the phone with you on the range, put your earpods in, and he's talking to you in your ear, and he can see what you're doing. It's super simple.
Yeah. So with the Symetra Tour coming up and everything else that you've got going on, is there anything that you've had a chat about maybe that you're going to be working on, like in terms of getting yourself ready for that tour, or is it just kind of as usual and just keep grinding?
No, so something that I learned over Q School was that, well, my short game's awesome, my putting's really good, but my driving distance off the tee, it needs work. So I would be outdriven numerous times by all my other players, and I was always hitting first, and I just need like an extra 10, 15 meters. And so that's one thing that I'm going to be working on over the next 6 months, is getting some more distance off the tee.
Yeah. And obviously you try to get to the LPGA. Is there another kind of tour that you're going to be playing on alongside Symetra? I mean, some people try and play a couple of different tours, don't they, to try and earn that status? What's your plan with that?
I really want to, they've got the WAPT Tour, which is the tour below Symetra Tour, and there is a pathway to get onto there through that, which I will play in next year over in the States. But I was thinking of going over, heading over your way to Spain and playing in the LET, the European Tour Q School. I haven't decided what I'll do yet about that one. Just depends on what travel restrictions we have and everything. But if it was all going well, I'll be over there in December. Yeah.
I mean, how do you think your game would suit to European kind of course and style of golf? I mean, again, you've got a load of experience in the States, but how's your experience in Europe?
I've got no experience in Europe, like none at all. I've never been over to that side of the world, and I would love to see how I perform and what the caliber of competition is like, and just to see where I fit in over there, and then weigh up the two tours and see, okay, well, where am I best spending my time, Europe or America? So no, that's half the reason why I want to go over, just so I can know where I sit over there. So be interesting. Yeah.
I mean, one thing I did see, because I'm watching a Netflix documentary at the moment, a series which is based in New Zealand, and it's I'm can't remember his name now. It's the ex-cricketer, the famous ex-cricketer from New Zealand, and he's doing a golf documentary there with an English cricketer. And a lot of the courses there in New Zealand look like they are links style courses. So maybe it's something that's going to be fairly similar if you do.
Yeah, so I went to boarding school in Dunedin.
Brendan McCullen. Brendan McCullen.
Yeah, I
yes,
played golf.
There we go. Oh, did you? Oh, wow.
Yeah, a few years ago. He's a good guy. Good golfer too.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, you do find a lot of links courses in New Zealand, and so I guess if you can play that low punchy shot, we might be okay.
Yeah, it's him and Phil Tufnell, who's an English cricketer, and they basically do like a tour of New Zealand, or different cities, and playing on all the courses. And a lot of the ones I've seen so far have definitely got that kind of linked feel to them. So maybe it's something that you can, get used to. You probably already used to if you did come and play over in the UK and Europe, maybe.
Yeah, well, I guess, and it's always a fun part of golf is like using your imagination. I mean, you play in America and you're playing the same shot every hole. Usually it's just like driver, wood, iron, chip, putt. But maybe in Europe it will be a little different.
Yeah, well, I hope to see you over here. But listen, anyway, thank you for joining me and doing this podcast. I appreciate it. I know you're cooped up in your hotel room there, so I appreciate you coming on and doing this. And
anytime.
Look forward to seeing you playing.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much. So for anybody that wants to find you on social media, where can everybody find you?
Yeah, I'm a big Instagram user. So it's just Laura __Hoskin. Find me on there and click add. And if you've got any questions, just shout out.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Laura. And look forward to watching you on the Symetra Tour.
Thank you.
Thank you.